This is the last section in chapter 7 that we're going to go over, and it has to do with parts of similar triangles. Okay, so the different special segments we're going to talk about today, we're referring back to chapter 5. Okay, that's where we had those special segments drawn into triangles. So the 3 types that we're going to deal with today are angle bisectors, medians, and altitudes. So just a refresher, an angle bisector bisects an angle of your triangle. So if we want to bisect angle A, my angle bisector would look like this. Okay, and it'd split that angle into 2 congruent pieces. Okay, so your angle bisector. Your median, again, goes from the vertex, so we're going to go from point A to the midpoint of the opposite side. So we need the midpoint of that opposite side. Okay, so we know those pieces are congruent, and we just connect the vertex to that midpoint. Okay, and then the last one, in altitude, goes from the vertex and is perpendicular to the opposite side. So that means it creates that 90-degree angle with the side opposite. Okay, so these are 3 special segments that we're going to work with in similar triangles. We won't work with the perpendicular bisector. If you recall back to chapter 5, that was our 4th segment within our triangles. That one doesn't hit one of the vertices all the time, so that's why it won't work proportionally like the other 3 here do. So when 2 triangles are similar, corresponding altitudes, angle bisectors, and medians are proportional to the corresponding sides. So our special segments within triangles are also proportional when we are given those similar triangles. So an example, in the figure, triangle ABC is similar to triangle XYZ. And we have angle bisectors shown here. And we want to solve for x. So all we're going to do is set up a proportion because we know these are similar triangles. So to set up my proportion here, I'm going to go from one triangle to its similar side in the other. So this angle bisector and this angle bisector are proportional. So we can set this up as 10/8. So I just took the angle bisector in the first triangle over the angle bisector of the second triangle. Now I'm setting up a proportion, so these need to be equal ratios. So since I started with this first triangle with my angle bisector, I should start with that other side. So I have 24 over its similar side in my other triangle is x. Okay, so now I set up my proportion. All I have to do is cross multiply. So I have 10 times x and 8 times 24. Divide both sides by 10. And I got x to be 19.2. Okay, so that was the first example. In the next few, any questions on that first example before I continue here? Okay, so in the next few problems, we're going to identify the special segment and then we're going to set up the proportion. So in number 1, both of these triangles have which special segment drawn in? The median. Okay, so I know that those medians are similar as well as those triangles. So that means they are proportional to those sides. So I can take Whichever one you want to start with. I'll start with 36 this time. So this side of 36 is proportional to this side of 18. So I can create that ratio. Okay, that ratio is the same for the medians in both of those triangles as well. So since I started with 36 here, I'll have to start with 20 over its similar side is x. And again, at this point, all we have to do is cross multiply. So we have 36 times x and 18 times 20. It's 360. Divide both sides by 36. And x is equal to 10. Okay, questions on 1? Okay, I want you guys to do 2, 3, and 4. So identify the special segment. Identify the special segment, and then set up that proportion and solve.
Oh, yeah.
I purposely make myself look stupid so I don't have to go up and do it for class.
Well, you don't have to anymore.
Huh?
You don't have to anymore.
I know, it's not next year math. But I'm gonna take math next year. So, because I'm kind of going to the nursing field and I can't even fraction. Don't tell me I don't because the blood
I
pressure
never
over.
did. It's a fraction, yeah.
Then you gotta divide that into what overall it is if they're dying or something. Check this off. I have to. Why? Now it's forcing me to because I don't get enough hours. When I told her that, she was fucking awesome.
All right, we're gonna start going through these. So number 2, what type of special segment is that?
Good job, Sheila.
Okay, it is an angle bisector. So you could set up your proportion as 12 over x equals 9 over 6. Or 9 over 6 equals 12 over x. It doesn't matter. Just cross multiply here. We have 9x is equal to 72. To get x is equal to 8. Number 3, what's our type of special segment?
Altitude.
It is an altitude. Okay, so I could set up my proportion as 4 to 3 is equal to 3 to x. So since I started with 4, went to 3, need to start with 3, then go to x for that second ratio. So then I have 4x equals 9 when I cross multiply. Divide by 4. And x will equal 2.25. Okay, number 4. This one is an altitude as well. Remember, your altitude can be on the outside of your triangle. Okay, so I just need to set up my ratio the same way. So I know since these triangles are similar, their special segments are. So that means I can set up a ratio of x to 7. Now since I started with this triangle, I should start with one of the sides in that triangle. So this would be equal to 10 over its similar side, which is 8. Okay, so I end up getting 8x equals 70. Divide by 8, and x is equal to 8.75. Okay, questions on how I'm setting these proportions up? Given that those special segments, you do need to use those special segments. They're proportional, just like your sides are in your similar triangles. All right, then on the back, those top two are the same thing that we were just doing. If you did those, you could set up this first one, number 5, as 45 over its similar side, which is 30. That's equal to, since I started with 45, I'll use the special segment within that triangle as 42. Over its similar segment is x. Okay, cross multiply, so I have 45x is equal to 30 times 42 is 1,260. Yep, divide by 45. And x is 28. Okay, and that segment is an altitude of your triangle. Okay, that segment is an altitude. Now number 6, this one is a little bit different. So yes, you could still get the correct answer by taking 12 over 14 equals 12 over x. Okay, but if you didn't know that those were congruent, you would need the entire side here. Okay, so I know since these are congruent, both of these are 12, right? And since these are congruent, both of these are x. So to set up my proportion, I'm going to take my special segments here, 12 and 14. I need my entire side where I had my special segment of 12. Well, that entire side is 24. And then this entire side would be x plus x, which is 2x. It's combining like terms. If you say 3x plus x, what would you say it is? Okay, so x plus x is 2x. The only time it's x squared is if you multiply them together. You're not multiplying them. Okay, so from here I just cross multiply. Okay, so I have 24x is equal to, what is that equal to? 336. Divide by 24.
I only did 12 with X.
Yes. So you will get the same answer because those two pieces are equal. I'm just telling you there's multiple ways you can do this. That only works if it's a median though. Okay, and those two pieces are equal. If it was an altitude and you were only given one of those pieces, you'd need to find the other. Okay, that only works if it's a median. Okay, any questions on those two problems at the top? All right, then we're going to move on here. So next we have the triangle angle bisector theorem. So that states an angle bisector in a triangle separates the opposite side into two segments that are proportional to the lengths of the other two sides. So this angle bisector, okay, splits your triangle into similar parts. Okay? So you won't use the angle bisector itself this time, okay, because there's not another triangle to make it proportional to, but it does split the sides into proportional sides. Yes. So I could set up a proportion. So since these two are my angles that were bisected, I can take 15 over 30. Okay, so those are similar sides. That's equal to, since I started with 15 and that's in this smaller triangle right here, I need to start with x. And then over its similar side into that separated triangle, which is 20. Okay, from here I just need to cross multiply. To get 30x equals 300. Divide both sides by 30. And x is equal to 10. Now there is another way you could set up this proportion. Okay, so I could also set this up. You don't need to do it this way if you understand the first way better. You could set it up as 15 over x, so just starting with that whole smaller triangle there. So 15 over x is equal to, since I started with 15, its similar side is 30. So I can set it equal to 30 over 20. And you'll get the same answer. Okay, so again, multiple ways to set up this proportion and still get the same answer. Okay, questions on that first example solving for x? Okay, I want you to do 1 and 2. Stop after 1 and 2 because 3 gets a little bit more challenging. So do numbers 1 and 2, set up those proportions, and solve for that variable in that picture. It's very similar to the one we just did. Your angle bisector splits us into proportional parts in each triangle. So since this is your angle bisector, that means these two are proportional and those two are proportional. So whichever one you want to start with. Okay. Nope. If you start with x, you have to start with 28.
Alright, I'm stuck.
For now. How can we do this? So do you I did, they're done. Want to do? Yes. Okay.
Since we started with 25.
We do.
I need to drop my truck off on Monday, so Tuesday I'm gonna be in the office.
How do I know?
I'll buy one.
Right.
I'll
Yeah,
buy
right.
I was gonna try to give you a phone number. Do you have a brother? Okay. So he's a little bit home. Well, Monday, do not do it yet. I'm already.
Okay.
I guess you can.
I mean, you're done with the first one.
Then just go.
Well, you can do the second one. Go. Do it. I'm waiting.
Here, I tell you, I said no. 15. Oh, I watched this equals. You've never watched Lion King? Actually, 15 over 9.
All right. I'm gonna go over 1 and 2 because I think most people are finishing up. So, number 1. Quiet. Number 1, you can set up as 25. So if I start with this side, it's 25. Similar side would be X. Since I started with 25 and that was in this first part of this triangle over here, I need to start with 20. Then over its similar side of 28. Okay, cross multiply, I get 20x is equal to 700. And x is equal to 35. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, I'm going to start with this side of 15. Over its similar side in that other part of the triangle would be 9. Okay, that's equal to, since I started with 15, what should I start with in my second ratio? A. Over its similar side of 3. Okay, so I get 9A is equal to 45. And I get A is equal to 5. Okay, questions on 1 or 2? All right, now pay attention to number 3. Pay attention to number 3. So in number 3, you are given this entire length here, right? And only one part of this one. Well, I need this length in order to set up a proportion.
So you divide it by 2.
No. Angle bisectors don't bisect the opposite side. It's not a median. Okay, so what you can do, if I skip over to number 4 really quick, you have the same situation going on here. But how do I get that piece? You subtract. So I take 15 minus 10, and I get this as 5. So over here,
46.8 minus n.
yes, I'd say this is 46.8 minus n for that side. Good job, Sheila. Okay, so now I have each piece. Okay, and I can set up a proportion. So if I start with 36 over its similar side of 42. Okay, that's equal to this piece right here I just found is 46.8 minus n over its similar side is n. From here I'm going to cross multiply. So I have 36n. Shh, we're quiet please. 36n is equal to 42 times the quantity of 46.8 minus n. Remember, you need to distribute this 42 to both terms. Okay, so I have 36n is equal to 1,965.6 minus 42n. Add 42n to both sides to get 78n equals 1,965.6. Divide by 78. And n will be equal to 25.2. Oh, yeah, just wait. So, you do have one on your homework, I believe, that is like this one. Okay, where you have to take that entire side, subtract one of them to get that remaining one. So now I want you guys to do 4, 5, and 6. So you're setting up those proportions. Okay, find that missing side first. I already did it in number 4 for you. It is 5. So you can set up that proportion to solve for your variable. I just did the hardest one.
Did you do these problems? How do we do them? I got the biggest tire for 2005 F-150 with a 2-inch left.
This is 10.
Oh.
No, I'm not even
Whole thing is 15. So I did 15 minus 10.
So what is over here? Bless you. That was just so cute.
You start with that. You start with this one.
Your dad's so cute. I know.
Yes, I do.
Well, you know, if I don't get my way, it's gonna blow up. It's gonna explode. Listen just to my truck music.
I don't need it. I'm
Show me that you did all of these problems.
What in love?
You get a decimal for the last one.
Why? I figure out 6. I love say so much. No. I almost did.
Does it actually help you?
Huh?
Does it actually help you?
No.
No.
Why is it 21? What was it? It used to be 7 and 8 and 9. They're always 7, 8, and 9.
No!
How do you do? I'm thinking on mine.
You have to find that missing side.
Do you always? I kind of have to say while I'm doing something. I gotta ask for more hours with 100.
What'd you get?
And he asked me after how many ones last year.
Hey,
And I was like,
win.
"Wait, my reps." Claw.
The claw.
See? Help you win this last year. You have the claw. You're Mr. Krabs. Mrs. Krabs.
Yep.
The claw. That's made my day. I'm gonna go home and recoup my Okay, can I go home?
I got 51 too.
What? I don't speak bro. I don't speak bro today.
Here, you can take it. Okay.
Can you find them? Yeah, we'll pull out the kids' at my house on February 6th.
I don't have a study hall, so she can have fun trying to give it to me.
You have the case though? Yeah, I have the case. It's my iron.
Yeah.
No, I'm stupid people they are. So I'd like to know if they're not driving, but they're not. After my head was
And I was in her office every single day.
Probably left one in the classroom with some broken or slow.
All right, so the last three problems here, you had to find, well, the 4 and 5, you had to find that missing segment. Okay, you just subtract to get that. And then set up your proportion just like we were before. So number 4, you should get x is 26. Number 5, x, or r is 66. And then number 6 is a decimal. It is 12.83.
I wanted to see what it do.
Go ahead, come. Wait, I didn't know you could do that.
I don't either.
So please get started on this assignment. There are